Every time Grogu raises a hand, the internet invents a new power. Today we're cutting through the noise, what each ability actually is, where it shows up on screen, and why it matters right now. With one subtle trick almost every list misses.
Can he still wield the Force?
You mean his powers?
I've wanted to make this one for ages, but I've always assumed everyone knew these moments, and there were already 1,000 lists out there. Then I kept noticing the same thing. People double counting the same move or skipping the quiet beats that tell you who Grogu really is. Quick ground rules, we're sticking to on-screen canon only, and if fans use a different name for the same thing, I'll flag it. And to head it off early, Force Barrier includes the flame stop, same defensive projection, just different scale. Big picture, most of Grogu's kit falls into 4 buckets: telekinesis, where you move things; defense, which is to shield or contain; restoration, heal; and fun facts, Grogu was the first to show force healing in live action; and connection, calm and communicate. Before we jump in, if you enjoy breakdowns like this, hit the like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps out the channel. Drop some hype points too if you're feeling extra generous. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's get into it. Alright, so if you asked a casual fan to point at a Force, telekinesis is the one I'd mimic. The little hand raise that makes something way bigger than you move away. This is the headline act, and with Grogu you can literally watch it grow from miracle to method. Back in Chapter 2, the Mudhorn charge freezes mid-air, and he stops being cargo. And by Chapter 24, he's not performing a miracle, he's breaking their rhythm, quick force shoves and well-timed jumps to open tiny windows for Din to land hits. What I love here isn't just the scale, it's the cost and control. It's not just what he lifts, it's what it costs. Big lifts wobble fast, split focus makes him lose it, and if he pushes too hard, he crashes. That's the tension that keeps these scenes alive. Every time he reaches out, you're almost counting the heartbeats with him. But yeah, big picture, telekinesis is Star Wars' oldest language. Luke's saber grab on Hoth in Empire, Yoda turning doubt into an X-Wing rising on Dagobah, and there's tons of it in the prequels and sequels. So yeah, Grogu's story fits right into that lineage, but the emphasis is shifting. We're moving away from look at what he can lift and towards watch how he changes this fight, which is exactly where his character is heading next. And that's why this ability matters right now. It's not just power, it's timing and choice. The difference between surviving a scene and shaping it. So yeah, if telekinesis is him moving pieces around the board, our next one, Force Barrier, is the quiet decision that keeps the board intact. The cleanest version of this came in the Season 3 finale. Din and Bo are about to be swallowed by the blast. Grogu lifts his hand and a luminous dome blooms around them. No swagger, no line, just a kid holding the line while the room around him is torn apart. Now track it back to the end of Season 1 and you see the earlier form. An incinerator trooper floods the room with fire and it hits. Nothing really. The flames fold, the embers hang in midair, and danger burns out against an invisible wall. Same posture, same breath, same little wobble afterwards that we've all become familiar with, which is why it feels so personal when he does it. Anyway, so then there's the move everybody recognizes for the wrong reasons. Force choke. Vader wrote it into pop culture in the first place.
Find the rebels' hidden fort.
So when Grogu reaches for it, it lands with a jolt. In Chapter 7, he misreads Din and Kara's arm wrestle as a threat and clamps her throat. There's no malice, just a terrified kid grabbing the biggest hammer in reach to protect Dad. Lightside users almost never go there, and when they do, it's framed as a warning, not a flex. Which is why this moment matters. It tells you what fear could make him and why guidance has to do the heavy lifting. The creed, the covert, the breathing and focus he got from Ahsoka and Luke. All of that turns the reflex from punish into protect over time. And yeah, it leaves you with a question hanging over the rest of his story. If he can hold back a firestorm, what happens the first time the shield isn't enough, and what does he reach for next? Now this next one hides in plain sight because it looks like that thing that the Jedi do, but that's the point. When it's working, you barely notice it. It isn't a big hand wave or a glowing bubble, it's the Force living in his footwork. Book of Boba Fett Chapter 6 is where Luke dials it in. The forest turns into a balance beam and Grogu starts speaking the language. Short springy leaps, soft landings, mid-air corrections that no normal body makes at that size. It's not spectacle, it's calibration. And then in The Mandalorian Season 3, Chapter 24, those drills pay off under live fire. Grogu threads through the Praetorians, slipping blades and all kinds of attacks with quick, elastic dodges. He's not out running danger so much as arriving where danger isn't. If this is him without a saber, what happens the first time a saber enters the fight? And there's a lineage here that keeps the whole thing incredibly honest. Yoda trains Luke the same way on Dagobah: hops, handstands, balance before bravado. Long before the saber comes out. And when Yoda goes to confront Darth Sidious, that philosophy turns kinetic, explosive jumps, mid-air pivots, vertical bursts that make a tiny frame impossible to track. Grogu is that idea at an earlier stage, the body learning to trust the Force, then letting the Force lead the body. But yeah, these are micro bursts, not endless parkour. The longer the sequence, the heavier the breath, and fatigue kills timing before it kills height, and distraction breaks the beat. Which is why the training, breath, stance, reset matters. Agility really is the glue between his flashier powers. Barrier buys a heartbeat, telekinesis opens a lane. And this is how he enters and exits those beats without getting cut in half. And the real tease is where it points. When the jumps aren't enough, does he double down on rhythm or reach for something riskier? Now, sliding on from footwork into first aid, this is where Grogu stops becoming a survivor and becomes a caretaker. If there's a pure light side expression, Force healing is it. Compassion made literal. We first see it in Season 1, Chapter 7, Grief Karga's bleeding out by the campfire. Grogu waddles over, tiny hands on the wound, and the pain just loosens. No fanfare, no choir, just stress leaving Greef's face as Grogu's energy fades. That's the moment the crew and the audience learn his default setting isn't attack or escape, it's restore. Now, healing sits in the same neighborhood as his defensive abilities, but does a different job. Healing stabilizes, it preserves life so the story can continue. We've seen the wider saga sketch the range, Rey mending the sand tunnel Vexis, and later Kylo Ren after their duel. Then Ben Solo giving up everything to bring Rey back. That's the outer edge of the map, beyond knitting the wound into giving what you are. And the cost is the point. With Grogu, it's smaller strokes, a little slump, a deep breath, the nap, but the message is the same. This power spends you. For me, it also rounds out who he is pretty well too. He's not just a kid who moves the biggest object or throws up the best shield. He's the one who puts people back together, and that changes the stakes in a fight without a single punch being thrown. The question it leaves hanging is a sharp one though. If in the movie he can save someone mid-battle, should he? Especially if the price tag is higher than he can afford. But yeah, we've seen him blocking Hill, but the next gear is quieter, using the Force to settle things before they break. In the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 7, the Rancor's tearing through Mos Espa like a living siege engine. Grogu just pads into the frame, lifts a hand, and the whole set piece pivots from total chaos into a bedtime story. Breath slows, muscles unclench, the Rancor settles beside him and goes to sleep. Then he falls asleep too. Connection takes energy. And that's the point, he isn't conquering the Rancor, he's meeting it. No tricks, no leash, just aligning rhythms until the danger ebbs. Live action doesn't give us many clean, creature-calming beats, which very much makes this feel like his signature. It also completes the triangle he's been building, protect with the shield, restore with the healing, and when you can, prevent the harm in the first place. Now underneath all of that is the quieter power that stitches everything together, empathy. In Chapter 13, Ahsoka doesn't run drills, she listens, no dialogue, just presence. And suddenly we have his name.
Grogu and I can feel each other's thoughts.
Grogu?
His history at the temple, and a sense of the fear he's been carrying since. Later with Luke in the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 6, you see the same language refined. He mirrors calm, settles when Luke settles, those tiny beats that are everywhere once you look for him. The pause before he heals, the softening before he pacifies. That look he gives Din that can shift the room without a word. This isn't a party trick, it's the foundation. He moves things because he feels what's at stake. He shields because he feels someone's fear and decides to carry it for a second. He calms because he knows what chaos feels like from the inside. And it leaves a tantalizing question over what's next. If his greatest strength is connection, what happens the first time someone tries to pull on that thread? Do we see him hold the line, or does that bond become the very thing that puts him in danger? Alright, one more gear before we land this. The plus one you probably missed. It looks like just telekinesis, but it isn't. This is precision. Grogu using the Force like invisible fingertips to press buttons, flick switches, unscrew tiny parts, and pick out a single object without disturbing anything around it. It's quieter than a mudhorn lift, but the control is way higher. You see it early in Chapter 12, The Siege, he plucks a single snack from the stack, without scattering the rest. That selective grab is the whole idea, not move mass, but manipulate edges. It's why the visual language is so understated. Small eyeline shifts, minimal hand movement, the object rotating or settling just so. That's tool work, not brute force. And Star Wars has actually played in this lane quite a few times before. Anakin casually levitating fruit at dinner in Attack of the Clones is finesse, not a shove. Kylo freezing a blaster bolt mid-air is surgical control, even if the vibe's very different. Grogu's version fits that lineage, just scaled to snacks and cockpit parts. And we know, thanks to the trailer, that he's going to be using it in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie too. And it hints at where he's headed. If he can place things exactly where they need to be, how long before he's fixing something under fire that keeps Din alive? And if his greatest strength is connection, what does precision look like when he's doing it for someone else? Steadying a hand, closing a latch, neutralizing a trigger without ever throwing a punch. Power gets the applause, but it's precision that often wins the day. Alright, that's Grogu's toolkit laid out. Enough that you can come back to this anytime you need a quick refresher, perhaps before the Mandalorian and Grogu hits. But yeah, what I love is the shape of it. Not just move big thing, but protect, restore, calm. And then the quiet precision that tells you he's learning to do it right, not just do it loud. It points to a kid who's less a weapon and more a guardian who can change a scene without throwing a single strike. So yeah, going into the movie, the real tension isn't, can he lift something heavier? It's what he chooses to do when the shield just isn't enough. Does he lean into connection and finesse, or does fear pull him towards the spikier stuff? That's the fork in the road that could define him, so I'm curious. What's the one ability that Grogu hasn't shown yet that you want to see on the big screen? And how would you use it in a set piece? As always, drop your thoughts, theories, and wildest speculations down in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one, and may the Force be with you.